Hi there, welcome to my channel. My name is Jo and this is my channel Creative Empowerment. Today we're using the art channeling process, which is a process that I've been working on for some time to allow myself to open to channel better, to open to creative energies better, and to open to source better. So we'll be bringing through a channeled artwork as well as a channeled message. This is an energy exchange for all of us involved. This allows you to get into a space where you open up to the healing vibrations of channeled energy. So that's one thing for you. The other thing for you is there's some guidance that comes through. Now, not all the messages, as this is a group message, not all the messages will relate to you. However, take what resonates and let the rest go. And as we all sit together and hold space in this space, we allow our vibrations to come into harmony and sync with each other. That doesn't mean we're all connected in the way that we might like to think in our brains. This is more like a coherence, and who doesn't want to be in coherence and harmony in their life? As an artist, channeling art helps me open, a bigger space within myself to allow more awareness and energy to come through. It allows me to transcend myself, all the things, all the trappings of me, and open to something bigger than myself. And I see that like it allows me to be a conduit for spirit to flow directly through me. So get yourself ready to relax, enjoy some deep breathing while you watch this process. Now, to begin the art channeling process, I start selecting colours that I'm drawn to. I make sure that I am in awareness, a state of being that allows me to create in flow. That's what that channeled state is about, being in flow, being in a state of awareness where everything's kind of heightened. Channeling state allows us to be more present, more open, and probably, for me, it allows me to bypass that inner critic. I'm sure we all have our inner critic. So to prepare for this process while you're watching me, you might like to take some deep breaths. You might like to take your shoes off or get in a comfortable position, whatever it is that feels right for you. But what I'm doing is getting into my awareness where I'm leaving the judgment behind. That's a huge part of this for me because I want to create a flow state. And I'm already feeling in my hips that my hips are quite tight. Now, your hips may also be tight. I'm going to be calling on some things that you may notice in your awareness or not. And in this channeled state, in this channeled awareness, I want you to be open and embrace the idea that together we can let go of some tension. Now, even the marks I'm making, I feel like my shoulders are all really, really tight and just pulling in. Now, one of the things that I didn't mention before was that in this process, I allow it to take its own course. I never know where it's going to lead me. I don't focus on this as an outcome-based thing. I allow. And so the artwork itself is secondary to the process and to the information that comes through. So I'm feeling there's a lot of grounding that's happening as we're connecting in with this and allowing this flow to happen. And, as you can see, the colours I'm using here, we've got sacral energy, and I'm taking a big deep breath in here because now, my hips just pulled right in. Think about your glutes, and there's that sort of ball socket joint where the hips and the femurs, or the hip joint, and there's a fierce pulling in there, and that pulling in, there's a point in there that's related to the gallbladder, and that may relate for some of you. The gallbladder is about decision making. Now I've got a big lump in my throat as soon as I talked about decision making. And my throat now is really coming to the fore, like it's almost like it's just got switched on. And there is a link to our base chakra, or the pelvic floor, and our jaw. So this idea of the throat. And I think that there was also some sort of link, but I'm getting too caught up in my mind thinking about these things. So I'm going to just stop that there, and I'm going to, if you need to do some research there, you can. Now, there's a lot of chaotic energy around in this image that's coming through, and this is almost like entrainment. It's like a brain entrainment, something that I've never connected with before, but it's that idea of allowing the chaos and understanding that there are times when the chaos, now I've got pain around the belly button, there's times when the chaos is necessary, and if we go into that feeling, now I've got some heart stuff happening in the chest, in the center of the chest. If we go into that feeling of overwhelm every time we've got some energy moving, and I've got some heat in the temples, the forehead, I've got some energy moving on the inner thigh close to the left knee, pretty specific there, but lots and lots of heat in my face. This could be the stomach meridian, so this idea of digesting life as it comes in, as it comes through. And I can hear my voice is changing as well. Now I'm sort of sighing as well. That's a sign of liver gallbladder energy. And now there's a silence, which the silence feels like a really nice silence, actually. Not an awkward silence, not a pregnant pause or anything like that. This is like something is happening in the background in the silence. Like I am being made aware of something that's happening, but I am not consciously aware of it. It's really quite interesting because it's a very spacey feeling, getting a lovely spacey feeling in my head, like almost like I'm connected but not attached. Yeah, that's interesting. And I had something happen and change at the side of my leg. So again, that could be the gallbladder. And I've got a lump in my throat. So the liver gallbladder energy, so stuck and stagnant energy can be. But the feeling, and I've got sort of a little bit of a head spin. I'm not sure if the camera is moving at the same time because it looks like it is for me. Anyway, but it's like there's a clearness coming in, and I'm drawing these openings. I really quite like that opening up to something that may have been there before, because I feel like for some of you may have experienced this when you were in your youth. So youth is a funny word to use. So in your youth, you may have, it reminds me of the sound of music. In Liesel and her boyfriend. Anywho, so in your youth, there may have been moments in time where you felt clear, like you had a guiding vision of your life. So to me, it feels like it's talking about that space between childhood and adolescence, because it doesn't feel like teenage energy. It doesn't feel like adult energy. It's very much an in-between space. And that in-between space actually feels really quite wonderful and liberating. Like older children before they turn into teens, they really feel like the world is safe. And this is a generalization, of course, because not everybody does. But the world is quite a known place. That's the information that I'm getting. And this feeling of clarity that's sort of coming in feels like, that almost looks like a computer there. That's really weird. But it feels like there was a time in your life earlier where you knew what was going to happen, and perhaps you were more connected to your intuition and your all-knowing self. Perhaps that's when it is. And because this is a group reading, the age, it's not going to be the same for everybody. But this idea of being clear, because my mind just went unclear. So, there's been a moment in time, or a time where what was clear became obscured. And that obscuring of what you knew is almost very heart-wrenching is the word. But the other thing is that it created disparity within you. It created this rebellion and rebelliousness, because you once knew who you were. And as things got stripped away, your ability to co-create, to connect, and to be really very clear about your own direction in life. And this may not have been direction fully in life. This may be more that you knew who you were and what you liked. It's as simple as that. It's this lovely, I know who I am and I know what's for me. And I've got the big lump in my throat again. because I feel like life became a lot more stressful. And it's not that someone took your power away. It's not really that statement, because that's really coming from a wounded ego. It is more that you forgot who you were when you were at home, you know, when you were yourself. And that has created such a conflict within. Because you used to know certain things about yourself. And I know I've said this quite a bit, but the information is there to be repeated, so I am repeating it. When you knew who you were, you didn't doubt what you were doing and who you were, and, you know, the world, really. And of course, as we grow up, we get a greater understanding of how the world works, and we can become disenfranchised. And the words are this, that is not this. This is, you forgot who you were. And I feel like that is that all-knowing, all-powerful part of yourself. And it's interesting because I'm going over these lines, and I don't tend to do that during these channelings, that you forgot, or we all forgot, whoever's tuning into this, forgot your uniqueness and felt that for life to support you, you had to conform. You had to be who everybody else was. Now I'm taking a deeper breath in, and my hips feel quite twisted. They feel almost like one's going one way and the other one's, so one's going forward and one's going back. And that idea of, I don't think that purple wants to work on the black. That idea of, it's one is knowing yourself and pulling away from yourself. You know, that whole idea of moving forward because you trust yourself and know yourself and spirit, and then moving backwards because there's a lot of pain with that connection with spiritual ideas and being a spiritual person in the world, because it's very hard when you don't feel like you're connected anymore. So that's where we've got this disparity. That's where we've got this conflict, but we're not reinforcing this conflict. We're sitting with this conflict so that we can bring it into balance, because it's not who you are anymore, and you're learning better ways of understanding yourself. And so the narrative and the story that you have had is able to start shifting. Now, for some of you, this will, and that particular spot that I spoke of before, it's called gallbladder 20. And it's really sort of, it's not bubbling, what's the word? It's like it's opening, it's tingling. It's tingling. And that tingling to me feels like you're opening up to expand from old points of view that aren't needed anymore. You know, like it's like if someone took the training wheels off your bike. It's that feeling. It's that feeling of, oh, I've got all this freedom coming in, and I really like that freedom. I love the sense of expansiveness and freedom. Now, you all will not be feeling that, because everybody is at a different point of their expansion and where they are presently with their own feelings and emotions, and what work they've done and what work they haven't done. And I'm not asking you to do anything. I'm just simply stating that we aren't all in the same place. However, we are sitting here helping each other work through these things. And that's a very important part of this process that I'm doing here. Well, it's not me at all, but that we're doing together, is that we're all working on a collective wound, if you like. And by working together, it means that we're able to come into greater harmony with each other. And it means we break down some of those energetic walls and barriers. And you can hear my throat, my voice, because the heart wants to express through the voice. Now, that was very interesting, because we're talking about a collective wound, and what happened was I was interrupted, and the interruption has lasted for some time. And so earlier I was talking about how at one point in your life, in your youth, you may have known yourself. You may have been more connected to your true self, your higher awareness, your higher self, whatever you want to call it. And you may have been distracted. You may have been disconnected by life, by anything really. Like could be drug use, there could be all sorts of things in here, lifestyle choices and things like that. But we're very much disconnected, distracted, and that feels like we're talking about very much going back to the beginning where we were talking about the head and the body not being connected and being distracted from that bigger picture, from the soul's purpose, from the ability to view from the greater heights that soul can. Because, you know, there'll be some amongst you who didn't get that disconnected, but it will be quite a current that's running through for most people watching this video, that there's been some disconnection, distraction, and it can have been for some time. It may have felt like it was only going to take you off course for a little while, and then life happened. And this life happened is very much in the groin. For me, it's on my right. You may mirror what I'm feeling, or you may not associate with it at all. There may be even a level of dissociation happening for you, or that has happened in the past. And this could also be the distraction. So just understand that currently, as we're working through this art channeling, we are approaching some things that have kept us stuck, But that is now on the move, and we're beginning to see why. So when we're coming from our small mind, we're stuck in the what is it, why is it happening to me? And now we're starting to get to the, yes, this was for me. This didn't happen to me, this happened for me. And there's something in here for me. And I want to make all the lines bolder, which I find very, very interesting. And I do have a white Posca, I might use that. So everything wants to become bolder. So this idea of, you know, I'm going to say the third eye, actually. The third eye being emboldened, being opened. But it's also the throat chakra. But the third eye is very much, is wanting to, you know, make itself known here. Now that's not working as well as I'd like it to, but anyhow, we got there. So the inside of the left groin, and I'll say it again, for me it's the left groin. For you it may be different, but I have tension there. I have almost like a grabbing. And it's right inside. It's not in the muscles. I think I'm being told it's in the fascia. And this idea of reclaiming oneself, one's habits. Well, it's interesting I'm using the word ones. I don't know where that's come from. And that idea of being at home in oneself. I'm almost like cringing at myself saying oneself, but that's the words that want to be used, so I'm going to use them. And perhaps there is a bit of a cringe when you think about becoming yourself, when you think about owning all of you, you know, of being comfortable in your own skin. Now, that gallbladder position again is quite hurting, and I'm itching my eyebrow. Another point on the gallbladder meridian. You'll hear me mention meridians a lot. They are something that I work with in my process of channeling the art, because my body is very used to listening to itself and listening to the message that part of me is communicating. Again, that left groin, very tight, wants to communicate something quite clearly. It's about freedom, and I did refer to freedom before. I can't recall what that was, but this idea of feeling free in the self, free to be yourself. Because I feel like this distraction, this taking yourself off your path, this stopped that. And again, it's not because something happened to you, it's because it happened for you. The distraction was there because it was part of your soul's growth. And it's about reconnecting with the soul mission, the soul purpose, whatever you would like to call it. But it's befriending that part of yourself. Now I've got a bit of lower back sort of stuff happening here. And I feel like there's a connection to community as well. Because there's lots of people who identify as starseeds, or they used to be called light workers. There's all different words for it. And often when we identify as these particular things, we find it challenging to not only be ourselves, We find it challenging to find our people. And I feel like there's this amassing of people similar to you. And you may not know them yet, but I feel like your awareness of being in a social situation is getting greater. Your awareness to be in a social situation with others. You're adapting. And this is going to create more freedom for you. This feeling of freedom is very expansive. I keep talking about expansion, and you may not be feeling these things yet. You may have some inklings into the freedom, into the expansion, but for some of you, they may not be there yet, but they are coming. It's almost like the light code's bringing them. And this little pitter-patter of mark making that I'm doing now, and I've got quite a strong feeling in the side of the neck at the back, which did not feel that comfortable. And so for some of you, when we're breaking open, we will be having experiences that aren't that pleasant. And more and more distractions here. So you may be someone who's been very frustrated with how things have been progressing, about how your journey has been. You may feel stalled in many, many ways. You may have understood it too. There'll be some of you who've really understood why you had to slow down, why things stalled. And that's not a word that I have really used before, because I feel like in my own journey, I've used the word stuck, and it's felt very stuck. But now the words that are coming are stalled because it's coming from a greater perspective than mine. And so I'm understanding and able to see that it's because the progress was stuck or stalled for a reason. And that's going to be different for everybody that's watching. But life, it's just the words I keep hearing. Life was the reason. And perhaps if you are, someone who's here to help on this great awakening or expansion, whatever you want to call it, spiritual practitioners that don't have life experience, that don't have experiences of pain and heartache, they may not be as relatable as people who have been there, have done that. And I've got pain in the left jaw. So, your experiences, almost like the cherry on top, they're there to guide you and to guide others. And that may not be a pleasant way of thinking about it. But I feel that the more we come into a stasis with that, a belief that we can be comfortable and understand that it was part of our plan, then we can sort of feel at home being home. And it's an alien expression for some, because a lot of starseeds and a lot of other energy workers don't feel comfortable being themselves, being in the world and of the world. And a lot of people connect over not connecting with the world. And while that is a form of connection and expansion, it means that we are rejecting the world that we live in and the home that we're in currently in the body. And this is quite a challenging feeling, because this is more about coming to feel at home within yourself, in the vehicle of the body, the three-dimensional body, and understanding there's a gift in that, and understanding that there's much learning. Otherwise you wouldn't be here in this body. You'd be somewhere else. You'd take up a different challenge or expression and work through that. So this is talking about that freedom of expansion, but the expansion is to yourself. It is a reconnecting and a remembrance of who you truly are, and who you truly are doesn't make a mistake coming into form. So there's lots of galactic feeling here, lots of expansion. I know I keep using the word expansion. And it's expanding through what has been in the past uncomfortable. What has been almost torturous for some. And it's about understanding that everything that you have been through has been for you. For your growth. For the larger soul's growth. And for the growth of, well, the word humanity is coming in, but it feels bigger than humanity. But that's not a small thing either. But it kind of is quite defined. And this feels more open, more expansive. So while this is getting more and more chaotic, I actually feel calmer in what's happening within my body. There's still some restriction and tension, particularly in the hips still. However, my ability to have a bit more chaos in both the artwork and what I'm looking at and the perspective that I'm looking from, it's interesting, my brain was like, I don't know what you're talking about, is getting greater, is expanding again. So this idea of expansion through chaos feels like a key point here, one to be worked with for those who are ready to. And well, I've got the hips pulling in again. That idea of not wanting to make a mistake is very present. Not wanting to do the wrong thing, not wanting to appear silly. And I think that is one of the reasons why I haven't done this. This has been kept secret, or, you know, I have not expressed myself in this manner because I didn't want to appear, you know, foolish and silly and other things that, you know, people who are not going to relate to this may refer to. And I've got lumps in the throat, so this could be for you too. You may be working on something that's highly emotive for yourself, that is very heart challenging. Whether this is relationships or whether this is expression, it is definitely from the throat and the heart. And, you know, there's more and more chaos happening here, but I actually feel like I'm not connected to the chaos. I'm allowing the level of chaos, I suppose is the word. And it feels like more light is entering, more freedom. The word freedom just keeps coming back and back and back and back and back. And I really love that, because none of us want to feel frozen in, you know, time and space. And freedom, you know, was it George Michael's song, is very emancipating for us as people. Now, freedom, if we feel free inside, it's a very powerful place for us to be, because it means that we can challenge our own status quo. It means we can challenge the status quo of society by being ourselves and being free to be who we are and whom we are. Again, some interesting expressions, quite sort of archaic ways of talking, or definitely not ones that I'm used to anyway. Let's put it that way. So more chaos, but it's not chaos that's out of control. It's not in control either. It's in harmony. It's an expression of harmonic, interesting convergence, which was a particular thing. Left groin is still quite tight. But the freedom energy and that emancipation, expansion energy, it's really lighting up. It's making things feel lighter, more complicated, but lighter. And I've got to say, I'm really enjoying that. I hope you are too. So I feel like we might be finished now, because I'm kind of doing the last little bits here. Now, this is a group reading. If you would like to know what's going on in your energy field and in your life, there is a link in the description box below. I refer to this as psychic art, and I will be changing that, but when you're watching this, you may still be like that on my webpage. And like I've done here, I will tune into the frequencies around you. I will bring through whatever information comes through. I will channel whatever it is that is relevant for you, and I will make an artwork at the same time, and you will get a copy of that. And if you are overseas from where I am, I'm in Australia, there may be some additional costs on top of that, but we can talk about that